Today, we don't see sugars, or rather, sugar alternatives. Everywhere we see products with no added sugar or 0 calories. And behind these claims, there are often sweeteners. And in this video, we will look at 2 of them, Stevia and Sucralose. But between the 2, which one is really better? Which is the healthiest, the most stable, and the best tolerated? And what does science say about all this? I will explain everything to you in a simple and clear way with solid data and official studies, so that you can make your choice with the necessary information. So know that I am neither for nor against sweeteners, I'm just giving you information. And you can do with it what you want. Let's start with the basics. Where do these sweeteners come from? Stevia is a natural sweetener. Extracted from a plant, Stevia rebaudiana, known as the sweetest of its kind and used for centuries in South America. Its sweetening power is due to compounds called steviol glycosides. Mainly with these 2 compounds, these compounds have a sweetening power that is 50 to 300 times greater than sugar and calorie-free. Now, sucralose. It is considered a synthetic sweetener made from sugar, which is chemically modified. This transformation makes it 500 to 600 times sweeter than sugar, also without calories. The big advantage of sucralose is that it closely resembles the taste of sugar. So certainly, the fact that stevia is of natural origin, immediately we think that it's the best alternative. So wait to have all the information before making your choice. So let's start the comparisons. First, in terms of its stability, if you plan to make recipes, cakes, cookies. Basically, if you want to cook with this sweetener, then you need to consider its heat resistance. And for stevia, it is a maximum of 95 degrees, unlike sucralose, which can be used in preparations up to 130 degrees. So on this point, sucralose is more stable. This doesn't mean you can't heat beyond this point, but from this heating point, this sweetener starts to lose stability and degrade. Now, what do they say? The health authorities, particularly the EFSA, which regulates the use of additives in Europe, 2 notions are important. The ADI and the NOEL. The ADI, that is the acceptable daily intake. It's the amount one can consume every day throughout their life, without any risk. And the NOEL is the highest tested dose in studies where no toxic effect was observed. Here are the official figures. For stevia, the ADI is 4 mg per kilo of body weight, and the NOEL is 970 mg per kilo of body weight. For sucralose, the ADI is 15 mg per kilo of body weight, and the NOEL is 1500 ml per kilo of body weight. So I will give you a concrete example. For a person weighing 70 kg, for stevia, the ADI is 280 mg per day, and for the NOEL, for stevia, it's about 68,000 mg per day. For sucralose, the ADI is higher. It is 1050 mg per day, and the NOEL is 150,000 mg per day. This shows that sucralose is better tolerated and that the EFSA has greater confidence in it. Thank you. In its use. With an ADI almost 4 times higher than stevia and a NOEL also higher. So a hard blow for stevia, but unfortunately its moment is not over. Don't forget, if you don't want to miss anything about nutrition and dietary supplements, subscribe because a lot of things are coming. Another point to compare is how much should be used to obtain an equivalent sweetening power. As we have seen, stevia is approximately 50 to 300 times sweeter than sugar. Let's say we use the best stevia, and it is 200 to 300 times sweeter than sugar. Sucralose, on the other hand, is 500 to 600 times sweeter. This means that sucralose is about 2 times sweeter than stevia at the same dosage. So basically, you use half as much to get the same sweet taste. That's an advantage, especially if you're looking to reduce the amounts added to the product finished. Once again, sucralose continues its momentum and scores another point. Now let's take into account consumer life in France. This time, stevia is rated better than sucralose. So why is it rated better? We don't have much information. However, something in their description caught my attention. Some studies even suggest that the consumption of these additives could promote weight gain. When they say additives, they are referring to sweeteners. However, no study is cited in their description, or at least I haven't seen them. On my side, I have studies, but they conclude exactly the opposite. It's true, we have quite a few studies that show a decrease in body weight and an improvement in long-term blood sugar control. Like this one, that one, this one, and this one again. Let's put things into context. If sweeteners allow for a reduction in sugar consumption and therefore caloric intake, then yes, they can be interesting for weight loss. Well, Now, regarding the taste, because that's somewhat why we choose. It is true that stevia has a more pronounced aftertaste. You either like it or you don't. That's up to you to decide. Sucralose, on the other hand, closely resembles sugar. However, it can have a taste that lingers in the mouth. Let's compare the prices, the average price per kilo. So for stevia, pure. Stevia is 150 to 300 euros per kilo. For pure sucralose, 100 to 200 euros per kilo. But if we also take into account the sweetening power, stevia is half as sweet as sucralose. The difference becomes even more pronounced. For example, to replace 1 kilo of sugar in taste, you need 4 g of sucralose. The cost would be between 40 cents and 80 cents. You need 8 g of stevia. The cost is from 1.20 to 2.40 euros. As a result, for the same taste, stevia costs you up to 3 to 6 times more than sucralose. Well, now what does science say? Does the consumption of sucralose or stevia disrupt our blood sugar levels or insulin secretion? According to this study, sweeteners, when consumed with a meal, can lead to a slight glycemic and insulin response, well, slightly higher than sugar alone at that specific moment. However, overall, throughout the day, they do not sustainably increase blood sugar levels or insulin as sugar consumption would. But why can sweeteners have an effect on insulin? We are talking about an effect at the time of consumption and not a long-term impact. That is important. You should know that when you smell a good barbecue aroma, for example, or if you have a donut right in front of you, you can have an anticipatory insulin response because our body prepares for ingestion of food. So you understand that when you have a sweet taste in your mouth, naturally, the body can have a slight insulin secretion. By the way, this mechanism has a name, and it's called the cephalic response. But in this study on rats, the researchers highlighted the possibility that sweeteners can slightly increase insulin secretion in the cells, pancreatic beta cells. However, they do not prove any direct interaction with sweet taste receptors, but only an indirect effect on this secretion. So it is possible that sweeteners slightly increase insulin even without considering the taste sweet. However, be careful, this study was conducted on rats. This has not been replicated in studies on humans. By the way, let's take this study that was conducted this time on humans. This study was carried out on sucralose. The study involved 47 healthy men of normal weight, aged around 28 to 29 years, divided into 2 groups, 24 in the sucralose group and 23 in the placebo group. Participants first underwent a 4-week introduction period with baseline measurements, followed by 12 weeks of treatment, and then followed by a post-treatment period for 4 weeks. So it's important to note that in this study, the consumption of sucralose was strictly controlled. The study was conducted in a country where sucralose is not marketed. This ensures that exposure outside the protocol is practically impossible. The results? The study did not reveal any significant difference between the sucralose group and the placebo group regarding HbA1c, blood glucose, insulin or C-peptide levels over a period of 12 weeks. The oral glucose tolerance tests conducted with a 75-degree sugar load also showed no notable difference in the glycemic response. Now, sweeteners and the gut microbiota. So current research on artificial sweeteners and gut microbiota is mixed. Some studies show no effect, while others observe alterations in the associated microbiota. With specific sweeteners like saccharin or sucralose, the overall effect of these microbiota modifications on health remains unknown. In terms of clinical outcomes, larger scale studies suggest that sweeteners may have a neutral or even positive impact on health, particularly due to the reduction in calorie intake when they replace sugar. Metabolic improvements have been observed, sometimes even surpassing those achieved with water in certain health indicators. In summary, with current research, there is no need to be alarmed about the consumption of sweeteners. Numerous studies have shown an improvement in health markers simply because sweeteners can help with weight loss, because replacing sugar with sweeteners can allow for lower calorie consumption. And this weight loss naturally improves several health factors. Regarding the microbiota, the consumption of sweeteners can have an impact. But that's all we know, for now, unfortunately. So we don't know if it's a neutral, negative, or positive impact. In itself, it is normal for the microbiota to evolve when new foods are introduced into one's diet. In reality, the microbiota is constantly changing. Well, clearly on paper, sucralose wins the match. So first of all, we are recommended to consume 4 times less stevia than sucralose according to health authorities. But moreover, to achieve the same secret taste, you would need to use 2 to 4 times more than sucralose. And yet I am the first to defend natural products. But natural doesn't always mean better. And regarding sweeteners, especially sucralose, you have a lot of leeway.